Welcome back to the big weekend show. President Biden has a tendency to lash out at reporters when he doesn't like their questions. This was just 2 days ago. Watch.
Something the special counsel said in his report is that one of the reasons you were not charged is because, in his description, you are a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory.
I'm well-meaning, and I'm an elderly man, and I know what the hell I'm doing.
How bad is your memory, and can you continue as president?
My memory is so bad, I let you speak. That's
Do you
my
feel your memory has gotten worse, Mr. President?
My memory is not good. My memory is fine.
Yeah, I wouldn't go with fine as the best description. Yeah, maybe that's why Jill usually jumps up to get him off stage. A new book also claims she even got upset at Biden's team because the press conference went too long, saying 2 years ago, quote, "Why didn't anyone stop that?" An excerpt from American Woman, that's the book, explains what happened next. Quote, "Everyone stayed silent, looking at one another and then at her and back to one another. That included the most powerful man in the world, her husband, essentially played along, not offering an answer, even though aides had slipped him a card suggesting he end the press conference." So it's interesting. Alicia, I don't blame Jill Biden for being defensive of her husband.
Totally.
I think any woman would do the same thing and make sure that he is protected. She obviously knows what condition she's in. What I do blame her for is the fact that they are continuing this charade.
Well, right. And she's not just a spouse, right? She's not just, and she's the first lady, and she knows very well what she's dealing with. What we don't know is how long she has been leading him along and defending him and all that. And I get it. That's what spouses do. If someone left my husband out to dry, I would end them. And he knows that, and so do the people around him. But I'm not the first lady. And you can think about that in a warm way of like, oh, she's protecting her husband, until you consider in this book, quote, her dislike of Trump was a driving reason behind her support for him to run and for re-election. So she knows exactly who, not only who she's dealing with, who her staff is dealing with, but who the United States has in the White House. And she continues to let him do this and then, it sounds like, blame others when he isn't up to the task.
Yeah, and she also has no love for the vice president. And, you know, that has been made plain. But let's talk a little bit about this New York Post headline. There was an op-ed, and it's titled, "Jill Biden and Dems committed elder abuse on Joe. Now they must force him to step aside." And there's a quote from within the article from the editorial board. Joe Biden knew, his aides knew. Heck, James Clyburn, the entire Democratic establishment knew, yet terrified that Bernie Sanders would win the nomination and then failed to take down their mortal enemy, Donald Trump. They propped up Biden like he was a Potemkin candidate, or more accurately, weakened at Bernie's, to try to capture some of the Obama nostalgia. It's time for those same Democrats who lied to get Biden into the White House to tell them that he must step aside before the 25th Amendment is invoked. Reasonable words, Joe?
Reasonable up until the 25th Amendment part, because then you need 2/3 of the House to remove him. And you don't get 2/3 of anything anymore. And Democrats, obviously, that would be the huge embarrassment from the party, and that's not the way they want him to go. Joe Biden had hinted in 2019 that he would be a one-term president. His job was to get Donald Trump out and then hand the baton off to, Kamala Harris, who's currently polling at 28% approval. But Jill Biden has been very
Slightly
successful.
less popular than wildfires.
It's like gas station sushi at this point. You know, it's about that kind of popularity. So she's not an option at this point. But Jill Biden has been very successful in terms of keeping him out of the spotlight. I mean, let's count the ways. He hasn't had a formal TV interview since October. Think about that. And that was a T-ball session with Scott Pelley. After he won South Carolina, that was the first primary for the Democratic Party. Wins it resoundingly, as he was expected. Most people go out and do a victory speech around 9 or 10 o'clock when they call it. He phoned it in, literally did it by video instead. We attacked the Houthis, and there's no address to the nation after that. You can't win the presidency again without COVID by pleading the fifth and hiding in a basement. He has to defend his record. The problem is when they put him in front of a television camera, as we saw on Thursday with that press conference, it's a cleanup not only in aisle 5, but 12, 17, and 24.
Yeah, he can't read the prompter, Joey. He can't talk extemporaneously. There are Democrats saying, well, maybe he should wear better makeup. And do everything seated. Even Hillary Clinton has said, yeah, you know what? The age factor really is a deal.
Yeah, think about how you start this with Lisa. You're like, listen, I don't blame a spouse for taking up for their spouse. I agree with you if somebody were picking on him because he had stuff in his teeth at the dinner table. He's the commander-in-chief of our country. If he wants to stand in front of a podium and talk for 2 hours, we should want him to do that. Most importantly, he should be capable of doing that. And that is the problem. Jill Biden has no place blaming a staff for not turning her husband into a puppet different than what he is. Getting mad at them is like getting mad in the mirror. You're not going to get anything from it if you don't have some self-awareness. The self-awareness here, it was the only saving grace they could have ever had, because in a primal manner, we respect someone who is honest about themselves. We may not always reward it, and he may not get reelected in either way here. But if a year ago he would have gone down the path of, yeah, I'm forgetful, I'm 80 years old, but I've built this team around me, I've been here for 50 years, I'm guiding this ship, that's why I have the people on the riggers, and started down that path to create excuses that people find reasonable, he might be in a little bit better place, and we might not have the opportunity to jump on every, what he would call gaffe, I would say memory lapse, or just absolute period of blank stare. Unfortunately, he's continued to lie. His staff's continued to lie. He didn't build a good team, and there's nothing left for them to rest their hat on.
Yeah, and he may not be a good person with all these bad decisions and bad looks. They should lean into the fact that he can see and talk to dead people, because then he could get advice from JFK and Ronald Reagan. That would be a big deal.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.